Rudis broke out the super match. Now, this was awesome and everything was against Rudis. Like, to do live streaming is very complicated. Even the biggest firms out there, multi-billion-dollar organizations have gone to live stream and something happens. There's overload or they can't process. It goes dark. It's not pleasant to watch. It just happens all the time. You expect it on a first off, but Rudis went all in. They got a beautiful venue. Then they sold the damn thing out. They brought in all the lights and all the screens, the level of production. They brought in the absolute best talent. And then there's other mistakes that every first timer is going to do. Every first time promoter is going to, one, make you watch way too damn much, which Rudis was guilty of. They got to shorten that. But second, every first time promoter will force you to watch something that you don't want to see. They'll bring in like a marching band, or they'll bring in the local junior high, and they're going to perform a dance for us. And here's Led Zeppelin performing a concert. It just gets weird. It happens every single time because the promoter's not confident in his own product. He is not confident in what he's selling, so he's going to go to as many different genres as he possibly can just to get mom and dad and Aunt Sally to tune in. It shows a weakness. Rudis didn't do that. They told us we were going to get wrestling. We got wrestling. They told us we were going to get the world's best wrestling. We got the world's best wrestling. But it was also presented in a way. I don't know if I've ever seen wrestling presented this well. I don't know. I can't think of live interactions with the crowd. Ben Askren's in the actual crowd, walking around to members of the audience, asking them questions. It was just fun. Jordan Burroughs is as good as any sports announcer in the business, not just wrestling. Jordan Burroughs, by not making the Olympic team, gets taken to the Olympics as a broadcaster for NBC. Turns out he's great at it. It turns out it's going to open an entire nether avenue for Jordan Burroughs to remain in the sport and participating in the sport years after he's no longer competing in the sport. And Jordan has something very interesting. This was just on accident. I do not believe that he trained this. I do not believe that he planned this. But Jordan Burroughs has a demeanor, and it's only one. It's calm, it's understanding of the sport, and it's friendly. And no matter what he discusses, whether it's intense, whether it's controversial, whether it's heartbreaking, he will keep the same tone. He will keep the same lighthearted, friendly, intelligent tone. He will tell you not only what the athlete is trying to do, what he needs to do, and not only how he's feeling, how he needs to be thinking and feeling. It's a very interesting perspective, but it also just added to this event. Then the stars came out. I mean, everybody in wrestling was there. They piggybacked this thing right in Detroit, right off the NCAAs. The timing couldn't have been better. The matches were awesome, and ultimately the whole thing culminates with the showdown between Snyder and Cox. Now, I put myself in this. Nobody else has thanked me, and I could be taking false valor here. I might have had nothing to do with this, but when this match got made, Cox versus Snyder, I told that's got to be 3. They must go the best of 3. One match does not settle anything about the Olympic trials in 2021. If we're going to try to do our best to duplicate that day, we at least have to duplicate how many matches these two were scheduled to wrestle, which is a best of 3. And it got moved to best of 3. I don't know. Nobody's ever credited me, so perhaps I have nothing to do with this. But perhaps I do. And it was extremely relevant that it went down this way because their first match was tied 5-5. Now, I do get a tie, by the way, in a tournament. I have no problem with that. I think the crooks at FILA getting thrown out and UWW stepping in is one of the great things that's ever happened to wrestling. I do not disagree or begrudge one single rule that they have. I would be open to. In a tournament, you got to come to conclusion. In a tournament, we can't go into overtime. You got to have criteria. It's not fair. One guy's out there in overtime. He's going 13 minutes? He's going 9 minutes? It's not fair. Gets the same amount of break, goes and takes on a guy. It's got to be even 6 minutes, right? I get that. In a dual meet, I disagree. In a dual meet, if time runs out and it's 5 apiece, it's a draw. Now, if you're doing a best of 3, I understand where my argument doesn't play in for this specific thing. I'm just using the specific situation to try to prove a bigger point, which is I do think in a duel, it should go back to a draw. I don't think it should be something weird. You got 6 points and you got 6 points. We've settled nothing. That's what happened here. They both have 5 points. The Olympic champion versus the world champion, they got the same amount of points when time runs out. Now you pick a winner and the process was followed. There was no foul play here. We come back and do it again. But there would never be a case where it was more important to do it again than between these two who were supposed to do it 2 out of 3 in the first place. And now that we go to the first place, they end up tied, knotted at 5. There was always a size issue going into this against J'Den. You can't get around that. You got 2 studs, both holding down the fort at their weight class. One of them has to concede. And the idea that Snyder would pull weight off to get down to 92 is not feasible. The idea that Cox could be a little more comfortable and go up to 97. Everything was done right. But going into this match, we did know that that would be a problem. I personally predicted the first match was going to be very competitive. It would then be Snyder moving forward. I did not know who was going to win the first match, but I also argued it doesn't matter who wins it because Snyder's going to be successful later on. My only argument for making that is just Snyder could take more of a grind. Snyder does as good a job as anybody on the senior circuit of finding competition. He will find matches no matter what he has to do. Against the good guys, against the not so good guys. Whatever. You got a singlet and you got a singlet, and we can find a guy called a referee. Kyle Snyder will show up. So he's made to go longer. Now, J'Den doesn't have a deficit in that area, but when you do have a deficit, and everybody does compared to Kyle, Kyle's the most active senior level wrestler that we've ever seen. When you have that, and in addition, Kyle also has some size and strength, it's just a problem in the long run. So I don't know that there was any surprises to these matches. They were awesome. They were the 2 best guys in the world. Kyle Snyder scored like 12 points in total. I remember 2 seasons ago when J'Den Cox did not give up a point. He did not give it up domestically. Bo Nickel didn't get a point on him in the final wrestle-off. He gave up 1 point overseas, brought home the gold medal. I'm just sharing. He's very hard to score on. Kyle found a way 12 times. Great job. But the same thing goes for Cox. Guys have a hard time. Anybody not named Sadjalaya has never put a total of 6 points up on the board against Kyle Snyder in one day. Cox did. We found that we had the right 2 guys. We got resolution. What does this prove? What does it settle? Well, probably nothing. It's probably a jumping off point for something more in the future when these guys are likely to clash again. But either way, it's an incredible job by Rudis. It was an incredible job by our own wrestling community. I mean, Gable Steveson, on the night of the eve of him going into his final NCAA tournament, took time out to go and participate and support this event, man. It was a big win. And I, personally, as a fan, I'm appreciative.